Good morning. My name's Todd Nance, the Senior Metrology Manager for the Asheboro campus at Technimark. Been with the company for 33 years. Started here in 1987. The company actually started in 1983. Our founder, Don Wellington, actually rented 6 machines from a company about 20 miles south of here and started basically pulling in tools and running parts in rented space. And a year or two down the line, he got asked where his plant was, and so he built a plant, and that's where Technimark started. We are now in multiple countries. We have at least 3 plants in Mexico. We have a plant in El Paso, Texas, a plant in Latrobe, Pennsylvania. We have an embedded plant in West Virginia, and that's embedded into a P&G mega site where we provide components for their operation actually on site. We are in Ireland, we're in the UK, we're in Germany, we're in China. So we were actually supporting the cosmetics industry in that country, and very little came back out of there. Now we use China a lot for some add-ons that we can't exactly do in the US. We can do those in our China facility. First automated CMM we purchased was in 1996. And we do a lot of color changes. So the very early vision systems that we looked at did not handle color changes well. And that was kind of what pushed me away from vision originally. But now with the latest cameras and the multi-sensor tools where you've got the laser, you've got the through the lens, you've got touch probing, scanning, all of that on an OGP system with multi-sensors, that has came leaps and bounds from where it was in the 90s. We still use CMMs, but we are migrating heavily towards vision and multi-sensor tools, especially as we step towards medical. I can remember, I was having this discussion the other day. In the 90s, if you said you could measure 1/1000th of an inch, that was incredible. By the early 2000s, well, we can measure to a 1/2,000th, and that was incredible. But now if you can't talk in microns, you're kind of behind the times. And I've seen it come from where, like I said, everybody thought 1/1000th was incredible. And now, if you're not in microns, you're behind. So as we are developing these faster processes out on the floor, we have to figure out faster ways to measure, or we have to figure out ways to statistically measure enough parts that gives us valid data. I like to work with the customers up front, and that's really my favorite part of the job, is to figure out what do they want to measure, what makes sense in process, and how are we going to get to that production level. We may start out with a one-up fixture. We may actually even grow a fixture here in our innovation center, and we do some test bedding on, okay, does it work better with an OGP multi-sensor system, or does it work better on a CMM? And working with the customer, we develop that. We work towards that end goal of knowing we're going to have 144 cavities that we probably want to check at least once a day. And so do we split that up between 4 rounds of inspection or 6 rounds of inspection? And then what do they require for their receiving paperwork? Do they need 30 parts on it, or do they need 350, 400 parts on it? Then we gear towards that speed, and we design our fixtures that allows us to load that machine and walk away from it. And so we're actually right now in our main lab, we're doing between 10 and 12,000 dimensions every 12 hours, and we're doing that with one person. So that's where our throughput has got to. We need that high speed, we need that high accuracy. So when it comes to populating the C of A's and any documentation our customers need, 4 and 5 decimal places may be overkill for plastic, but when you start working with it statistically, you get a lot better graphs. And so you don't have that what I call chunky data. You actually get some nice rounded bell curves, and you start to see some real statistical trends that you can work with to make your process better and assure the customer they're getting what they need.
Hi, I'm Alec Pablo. I'm one of the Metrology Engineers at Technimark Asheboro. I've been with the company for 7 years now, and in my role, 4 years, and I handle primarily the incoming inspection, the development side, as well as developing fixtures, the programming, and what type of measurement system we're going to choose to handle the production side. The Fusion 400 has been very beneficial to us. We're able to inspect a variety of different parts within the large field of view and be able to capture measurements very accurately and we're also able to utilize the laser that's on the Fusion as well to get a lot more profiles of the surface and also accurate Z measurements. So combined with the optics and the laser has been very helpful to measure a variety of parts and very quickly. And for those cases where we have to measure holes at specific levels, we were able to use the scanning probe that's on our Fusion to capture those measurements. So we're able to keep everything on one machine and measure everything very quickly. So with the Fusion 400, it's very convenient to be able to have the touch probe retract back into the machine and not be in the way as we're using the optics. So the flow is, I will measure everything with optics and laser first and then come in afterwards with the touch probe and do everything simultaneously there. So we got the speed, we have the convenience of all three sensors, everything in one machine. The touch probe is retracted back in the machine, so whenever we need it, we just retract it out. It comes out, it measures everything, it goes back where it needs to go, and continue measuring with laser and optics. So very fast machine, very capable, be able to measure a variety of parts. We also have technicians or process engineers come in. They'll have a part that's, we haven't created a program for it yet. They'll have questions about measurements, and I just take that part. I'll use the feature extractor tool that's in zone 3 and capture all measurements right there needed, and they'll have an answer within minutes versus what would normally take a couple hours writing a CMM program. Zone 3 has optimized the software very well. Creating a program from start to finish is a lot shorter. The features are easy to use. There's enough advanced features as far as the edge detection where I can pick up edges very easily and the correct edge, and to be able to switch between different sensors in the software has definitely been a big improvement. And I can sit down, write a program within less than an hour, whereas doing the same thing in other softwares would take hours to do. Yeah, we have a variety of different finishes of our components. Some are glossy, some are more of a matte finish, and then we also have translucent parts and even clear materials. So the systems like the OGP Fusion and the SP463 both handle those different types of materials very well. There'll be times where I have to use the auto adjust light settings where it'll look for a specific light intensity. So if we have different colors of the part, each part is measured consistently with the correct lighting. So anytime we have a clear part with Z measurements that we need to get to where the laser wouldn't quite be the right option and the touch probe, maybe the spaces are too tight, the grid projector really shines. So we're able to get Z measurements on, say, a small shelf and a tight space, and it just works very well for us. The through-the-lens laser was able to capture points on translucent materials very well. We were very skeptical at first because most of our laser technology that we use to scan does not work very well on translucent surfaces. So we had an instance where we need to measure flatness on a very narrow surface, and the material was translucent, and the laser just was able to pick up a lot of points, but also accurate data on those surfaces without any trouble at all. The large field of view optics on the Fusion has allowed us to measure multiple parts in one field of view and has sped up our production inspection time tremendously. We're able to capture not just one feature, but multiple features at the same exact time before the stage even moves. So that's how we're able to utilize the throughput of the Fusion to its fullest.
So my name is Matt. I'm a metrology product specialist at Cross Precision Measurement. I've been with the company for about 10 years, and I've worked with Technimark pretty much since day one. Cross Precision Measurement is one of the 5 different groups at Cross that all work in different areas of manufacturing. Our specialty is metrology equipment and services, and we provide both to Technimark. Technimark is a pretty unique manufacturer from the standpoint of they can produce pretty highly complex parts, but they also do so at scale. So when the Fusion came out, Technimark was one of the first companies that I thought about because of the fact that the specific part that it was purchased for has a lot of features very densely packed. So large field of view made sense from a throughput standpoint, but we needed fixed focal length, high magnification optics to get the small features. We also needed to measure in Z, so that's why having sensors like the Telestar laser made sense. And once the Fusion got into the facility and it started to be used, initially it was kind of dedicated to that one part, but as different applications came up, I'd get a call from Alec or Todd to say, hey, do you think a Fusion could do this? So our applications expert, Chris Johnson, would help them with how they could use Zone 3 or different sensors like the laser, like the scanning probe. And from there, the Fusion took on a new role, which was kind of like a prototype metrology system. And what that's led to is they might have an application for large field of view, and it's a 2D application, and a snap is a great fit. They might need multisensor, and in that application, the SmartScope SP is a good fit. So whenever they've had new projects come up, they'll reach out to us, and we'll bring them down to our facility, which has a variety of different systems, and we'll be able to sit down and talk about the different sensors or software tools that are available, and then we can narrow down what's the next best piece of equipment to support that product. Working with Technimark after we got the Fusion installed, they work with such a broad range of products in different industries, and they have a lot of unique applications. And so the great thing is OGP's product portfolio is very broad. Manual systems, 2D systems, 3D systems, multi-sensor. And so, what the Fusion offers is that we've got a base point of reference, and then from there, we're able to pick the right system for the application to meet different budgets, different operator skill sets, but we're also able to consolidate it, right? So we're able to cover a huge range of applications only using Zone 3 and Measure X software. And, we haven't really hit any limitations, right? Because we have a conversation up front with Todd and Alec. Hey, who's going to be using this? What type of data do you need? And then from there, we configure a system and it goes in. They're able to support it immediately in-house. And if they run into any issues, they give us a call. And it's very easy to kind of walk through any issues that they might run into. So from the perspective of offering the flexibility of having the right technology for the application, but without creating any hurdles from having to learn different softwares or incompatibility from one machine to the other. It's really kind of a nice fit, right, between flexibility, but also meeting a specific need.